Welcome to the Be Better podcast, presented by CSO Broker, the show where we will speak to innovators in sustainability. So through collaboration, we can build a better world. Solutions today for a better tomorrow. Welcome back, listener, to another episode of Be Better. I'm your host, Bobby Climate. And today we're going to drill into the concept of the regenerative economy. I'm thrilled to be joined by Tony Parada, a partner at PA Consulting, to talk about how they're assisting entire industries in navigating this transition. In our conversation, Tony shares his journey from working with Plastic Bank to his current role at PA Consulting, where he has been instrumental in developing groundbreaking materials like dry molded fiber in partnership with Pulpac. We discussed the importance of collective approaches to tackling global challenges and the rise of climate tech investment, as well as the exciting future of the material landscape. Today, Tony offers valuable insights on how we can all contribute to a more sustainable world. So whether you're passionate about sustainability or curious about the latest in innovation, this episode is packed with inspiration and practical advice. Here's our conversation. Tony, thank you so much for joining the Be Better podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And I honestly can't think of a more fitting guest to have on the Be Better podcast. You know, I started this podcast to really surface just unique and interesting ideas and solutions so we could all build a better world for tomorrow. And over at PA Consulting, you really seem to be, becoming this rising star in helping companies to both engineer innovative solutions and also re-engineer systems, right, in support of the regenerative economy. And it's probably worth defining what the regenerative economy is and why there's so much momentum behind it right now. Can you help us out there?
Absolutely. Likely worthwhile just to give a super quick intro on who PA is and why we're even having this conversation. We're a consulting company. We've got an 80-year legacy of bringing ingenuity to life. Yes, we do the very critical strategy work any business needs to grow, but we also get grease in our hands. We'll take those ideas and we'll turn them into reality. We will help clients go from paper and pixels to products and services. We like to say our first client was Winston Churchill at the turn of the Second World War, helping with personnel and resource allocation. We've done some pretty amazing things. So, for example, we've invented the world's first disposable pregnancy test. We designed surgical robotics. We've even helped harness the power of seaweed for packaging with the team at not PLA, who recently won the Earthshot Prize. Oh, wow. Design, engineering, and science is at the heart of what we do. I'm very blessed in that I've got colleagues who run towards very complex systems-based problems and truly enjoy it. And I think that's our superpower. My remit at the firm, to your well-made point, is sustainability and a concept that I refer to as the regenerative economy. In essence, what that looks like is helping amazing clients, brands, organizations, and even governments the world over, yes, get to net zero, but more importantly, beyond net zero. How might my company's impact bring a beneficial role to the world that we live in beyond just looking at what might parity or net zero do? Super easy to say and talk about, not so easy to do, but we are making inroads in that regard.
Right. You know, you're a pretty smart guy, right? You could have done a lot of things. When did you decide that you wanted to channel your energy into this pursuit?
Great question. So I will say many, many years ago, I was graced with a mentor, formal and informal, who shared with me two key things. One, in any endeavor you take in life, seek to constantly add value. And I can think of very few things in this world that are more valuable than helping get to this notion of a regenerative economy. The second was pick problems and challenges that are big and bold enough that will change and help you evolve as a person. So early on in my career, I realized that the notion of sustainability and resource management and allocation and stewardship was one of those key challenges. A number of years ago, I ended up working with a company called Plastic Bank. I ran sales for them, really disruptive business model. In essence, we invited poor communities around the world to use plastic garbage as a currency for food, Wi-Fi, medical attention, and school tuition. Working in some of the hardest geographies around the world: Haiti,
Wow.
Brazil, Egypt, Indonesia, and the Philippines, to name a few. As amazing and mission driven as that work was, we were not addressing the source of both ocean plastic pollution and plastic pollution at its core. Yes, we were providing a way for impoverished communities to earn an income, and helping uplift. Yes, we were collecting materials, but we were faced with a constantly growing avalanche of these materials, both virgin and recycled. At around that time, a very close colleague of mine approached me and said, "Hey, there's this company, PA Consulting. They're not as well known here in the US. They are very well known in the UK and Europe. They're doing some interesting things in the world of material innovation. You might want to take a look at that." And that opened this beautiful door to a 6-month conversation around, hey, help me understand why you're not your normal run of the mill consulting firm.
Right.
Why is what you are doing really impactful? Very pleased to say, here I am a number of years later. That hypothesis has really proven true. We are taking these challenges and we're taking a very rigorous approach. We've got the designers, engineers, material scientists on staff. We are deeply involved in these challenges from multiple angles.
Yeah, I find it so interesting when it comes to innovation today. There's, kind of two sides of that coin, right? We want to innovate from within, but do we have the skills and perspective or funding or patience necessary to allow that to take place, right? Are you hearing, kind of a similar dichotomy between, the customers that you're talking to and people who are considering that approach?
Absolutely. I think there's a few schools of thought. So,
Yeah.
one, the notion of not invented here, where folks view innovation or inventors outside a firm as either less appropriate or less valuable. I think that is finally shifting.
Yeah.
There are very few companies who sit there and say, truly have a not invented here mentality. What I
Mhm.
do think can become challenging is the larger the organization, the more you tend to believe that somewhere within the halls of your company, you have the resources ready at hand. They just need to be called upon.
Right.
I think that's a very dangerous and alluring concept.
Yeah.
There are times when you realize you either don't have the time, or you don't have the talent, or you don't have the know-how, and going outside and collaborating with competitors and service providers and collaborators is worthwhile. What's interesting is this is my first rodeo as a consultant, and even now I don't view myself as a consultant. I really view myself as helping address these unique challenges. There are a few main reasons when people do choose to go outside the firm. They've met a challenge that's too big for them to tackle. They realize they don't have the resources, or they do have the resources and they don't have the time, and they really need key strategic focus. And that's what PA has been really unique at bringing to the world. And our partnership with Polpack is a shining example of that. And we can definitely spend some time and talk about that.
Yeah, that's actually something that really caught my eye was the work that you're doing with Pulpack, PA, and the development of, I think it was dry molded fiber. What are your thoughts on why that's so innovative and promising?
Absolutely. So for a number of years, clients from multiple industries were approaching us and saying, what's the next material on the horizon that we should be looking at? What are alternative materials that can really help us either with problem plastics or other materials that they would like just a more sustainable option for? Early on, we realized that fiber, so plant-based fibers in particular, was a huge universe of opportunity. And then within that, we had come across Polpack as a technology about 6 years ago. Um, a bit of super quick background. Polpack,
Mm.
separate firm, uh, We've partnered with them. They're based out of Gothenburg, Sweden. They are the owner and inventor of Polpak as a dry molded fiber technology. That technology is, as the name suggests, it's a dry process. That means you're not putting water into the process and creating a slurry. You're using fiber in its current form that is then processed, and under heat and pressure, you get this very unique ability to create packaging and products and components that you want. Your listeners may not realize, but in the world of alternatives to plastic, in the world of fiber, there typically is an alternative known as wet molded fiber. It's, in essence, the exact opposite of what I just described. It's a very wet process, highly energy inefficient because you have to dry all that water out. That inefficiency leads to increased costs and increased sustainability footprint. So we knew very early on a dry process means less water. It means less energy. That should mean enhanced sustainability profile and a lower cost per unit. So that's why we were so bullish on this dry molded fiber technology.
That's incredible. And, another goal of mine when I started this podcast was identifying some unique partnerships, because I saw how important it was to develop those relationships to ultimately innovate, right, and find out those solutions. And it's something I take away from every conference I go to, is that there is an appetite there. I guess, what are some of the unique ways that you're getting the right people in the right room?
Yep. So we have used this notion of a collective model at Polpak, and we do that under very unique circumstances. A, is this a challenge that is uniquely global and inordinately complex? And B, typically too large for any single brand to tackle on their own? And then finally, C, do we have the right to participate in the solution? Do we have enough technological advantage or know-how that suggests we can actually make a very impactful dent in this challenge? We believe we can do that. We've selected 2 such challenges for 2023 and 2024. That is replacing single-use bottles of all types, plastic, glass, aluminum, and replacing what are typically PVC-based tablet, capsule, blister packs. Again, make no mistake, we're not the first to use a collective approach. What makes ours different is you've got Polpak as the technology owner at the center, and then you have PA with an 80-year legacy of rigor and discipline around project management, scientific discipline and rigor, really driving a work stream to the deliverables and the outcomes that our clients expect. I can spend a little bit of time and detail some of the work we're doing on the Bottle Collective. The clients who have joined us publicly are Diageo, Haleon, and Sanofi. And then we have a handful of additional clients who have chosen to remain private for now, but will become public soon. On the Blister Collective, a similar set of clients, so consumer health, obviously a major component. We've got Haleon, Sanofi, and Bayer on the Blister Collective. And then in addition to that, we've gone outside the client community and begun accessing the larger ecosystem. So for anyone who's familiar with the production of a bottle or a blister pack, there's an entire industry known as the converters. They're the folks in this world who make those packaging prior to your formulation going in. I'm very happy to sit here and tell you that Logoplast, one of the world's largest such converters, has joined us very publicly on the Bottle Collective. They have realized that their industry is changing and they need to continue to be a service provider of solutions to their clients. One final bit on the collectives, something you mentioned triggered me. Our hope and aspiration up front was we'll get a collective of clients together, regardless of competitive nature, to all join in and participate. I think for those of us in sustainability, that's a beautiful, philosophical, esoteric goal. And then day to day comes in and you realize, oh my God, there's IP and legal agreements, et cetera, that get in the way. What's been amazing is, and we've seen it with Haleon and Sanofi and Bayer in particular, they are actually bringing that philosophical stance to life in a very tactical way. There are insights that each of their individual teams have been working on for the past 5 to 10 years. Those insights are getting getting fed back to PA, we can then digest and together collectively move forward. That's been really amazing for me to watch and very satisfying to see that there is this notion of a collaboratory, if you will, that crosses competitive lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It makes sense for them too, right? They're getting together to ultimately create a new product category that isn't out there, right? So not only are you capturing, additional revenue, but also saving the planet. Sign me up.
Exactly, and there's a diversification of risk there. It's not as though
Exactly.
you have to take the full R&D burden on your own shoulders.
Yeah.
We've been able to spread that so it's an easier way for everyone to participate and still be meaningful for an outcome.
Right. Yeah, and from investment perspective, monetary perspective, I'm seeing a lot of investment dollars go into climate tech in general right now. And something that's really shocked me was how much of this funding is going towards innovation within material science. What's next in the world of materials?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the fiber front, we're very bullish, as you can tell, but we're using tree-based fiber today. So virgin paper, and in some cases, recycled paper content. We've already begun working with alternative fibers, so agricultural waste, non-agricultural crop inputs, so it wouldn't impact the food system. There are really unique plant fibers out in the world that impart their own unique characteristics and properties that we think we can take advantage of. This is well beyond just, hey, let me find a replacement for plastic. We are now looking at a world where imagine your tomato punnet was made from the cast off leaves of a tomato plant. That's not a lab experiment. We are actually seeing that that can happen into the future. So,
Wow.
in the world of fiber, the ability to use alternative materials is going to be massive. The second big horizon we see in the world of material science, oftentimes, regardless of the material you're using, you need something that provides a liner or a barrier. It keeps the chemistry and the formulation of your product away from the package. We all want to move away from what are typically petroleum-based liners and barriers. There is really a lot of innovation happening in the world of alginates and seaweeds in particular.
Yeah.
We see great promise in those materials. Their ability to scale is there. This is not a very heavy input material to grow. And the output seems to suggest it has a very real place in the world of material science in the coming years.
Tony, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate your time. I do have one more question for you.
Please.
How can we all be better?
That's amazing. I'm going to offer three things for your listeners. One, for anyone who's in the world of sustainability or thinking about entering it, I would make a plea, and that plea is yes, bring your passion. Passion is table stakes and almost expected. Look at what skills and what additional value can you provide in your own ecosystem. The second is oftentimes those of us who care about these topics can easily get overwhelmed. These are massive challenges the world over. You need to look no further than any social media app to see the challenges we as a global humanity are facing. I would ask that everyone remember there are some amazing, innovative, brilliant people hard at work trying to solve these challenges for a multitude of reasons. For financial benefit, God bless. For the ability to reverse some of the things that we've seen, for a new way of working, and for further benefit. And then the final thing I would offer is be kind to yourself. Like meet yourself where you are in your sustainability journey. Not everyone can afford a $300 3D printed sweater made from seaweed. But that doesn't mean you can't participate. Like find the easy places in your life that are meaningful and valuable to you. Meet yourself in the journey where you are.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Be Better podcast. We've had the privilege of hearing from Tony Parada of PA Consulting, who is, in my mind, a true innovator in the field of sustainability and the regenerative economy. And as we conclude today's episode, let's carry forward Tony's advice. Bring passion to everything that you do. Find ways to add value within your own ecosystem. And remember that even small steps can lead to significant change, whether it's rethinking the materials we use or fostering unique partnerships. Each of us has a role to play in building a better, more sustainable future. So let's keep pushing boundaries. Let's stay committed to the journey. Most importantly, be kind to yourself along the way. Together, we can create a world that's not just sustainable, but regenerative and thriving for generations to come. Until next time, stay inspired, always striving to be better.